So what were some of the other tangible things that came out of that? Some things that working together, what did that look like on a practical level?
Well, I think one of the challenges is as we began to work together, one, just to get to the point of, well, how do we do something together? At first, I think for us, as most ministries, is we're event-driven. So we plan an event, it's a big explosion of things like fireworks or something like that, but we don't sustain that. So we grew early on to be able to do a few events together, but we realized God has a strategy. And to fulfill that call that we each have, the Great Commandment, the Great Commission, well, that's to love one another. And, well, we weren't doing that, to be judgmental or indifferent or complacent about each other. So as we began to find ways of how do we bless each other, it changed the spiritual climate. Demonic forces work in areas for a reason, because we've opened the door for them. And it might not be like we're going to say, I'm going to open the door for the devil, but our indifference and our complacency is an open door. And so as we began to find ways of how do we help you, how do we bless you, we began to see growth in our individual churches and those around. Probably prior to actually becoming extremely involved in actual functional ministries that we would strategize over the course of months and a year, which would build on one another. It takes us all working together to have a consistent presence of Christ in a community. One church doesn't have enough people or versatility or time to do that. So as we looked at it as an army, that we were different parts of the same body, and we had different gifts and abilities. So it would move into to doing ministries such as Spring Clean. I had done as my local church as a part of my youth work. For 10 years, we would go and pick up garbage off the streets. And as a result of that, we had a great impact. Young people and adults alike were involved in cleaning up the community. But then we had done that as a local church for 10 years, and then we stopped. And several years passed, and then the Lord spoke to me and said, you need to now take that same concept to the city and unite as churches. And so to give you a quick overview, our first one, I can't remember exactly because it's been a number of years, but there was really a handful of churches that united, and on one day we went around picking up garbage off the streets of the city. And that was a wonderful thing, because whether we made such an impact with garbage or not, but we did. When you get a number of people picking up garbage and you don't spread out so much, you concentrate on an area, so you see a marketable difference. The relationship of our people spending the day picking up garbage together was a wonderful experience, because they began to realize these are folks that love Jesus like I do, and then doing it together, we had a greater impact. And then that grew from that handful of churches to a place where, a number of years back, before I left the leadership and moved out of state, we had, I can't remember the number of us, but the last Spring Clean that we did had 2,600 volunteers over 5 cities within our county, saving millions of dollars that the city and county did not have funds for. Well, we had grown to a place that's a lot of volunteers, and when you add up those man hours, that's a significant amount of dollars, and then you're all wearing the same shirt. Every city was seeing, what's happening? Who are you? And we would not emphasize our individual churches. We would emphasize that we are a united group of churches that are expressing the love of Jesus Christ. Now, later on, opportunities to share about our individual churches was fine, and we did that. But it had such a significant impact. So it moved from prayer to functional ministry that grew, where there's a constant presence of doing things like that.